welcome to the podcast today. It's 2 o'clock, Monday, June 27th. You're in the studio again, and I'm looking at all the buttons on the board, thinking something's off, but then I remembered, oh, you're here.
I'm here. I'm off for the rest of the day.
What are you going to do with yourself? Enjoy the beautiful day.
I have to go to the post office.
You know, let's see how long we can go without talking about abortions.
Deal.
I will save that to the very end if anybody has interest in that, and so that we can vent a little bit. But you gave me a good place to start.
Okay.
I don't go to the post office often, but this is something I wanted to bring up.
My boob's about to pop out. Sorry.
Okay. Well,
sorry.
It's Eric and Alex's boobs on today's podcast. It's not a post office thing, but I know there are people who dislike going to the post office.
Yeah.
Is your post office visit an easy one?
Every time I've gone, it's been easy. It's just boring. Like the post office, have you ever been somewhere where you're like, oh, God, you guys need some lobby music or something? The post office is so awkwardly silent. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't like awkward silences, and that is one of the, it just makes me uncomfortable.
You're right. It's quiet.
Yeah.
And, yeah, there's no, sorry, my brain is not functioning really well today in the sense of getting words from my brain to my mouth. I just worked on my radio show and I was like, why aren't the words coming out right? But I feel the exact, same way when I visit my post office. It's off of McCord in Angola, and there's two people in there. There's very little smiling. There's very little chatter.
Yep.
It's more library-like than anything.
It is such a library. I mean, the library is more comfortable than the post office, in my opinion, because people are just standing there. You don't know who's looking at the back of your head, who's counting the dandruff on the back of my shirt, like in the line that you're waiting in. I don't know. I normally go to the post office on Boundary in Perrysburg, which is right off 475, although there's not an exit right there. But I'm going to go to the one on Detroit because it's close. It's like right there. So we'll see. I have to weigh our invitations and see what size stamp I need, because I know I can't do a standard one with this.
Really?
Yeah.
Can I hold it?
Yeah.
Oh, I actually have mine.
You have one. Yeah, hold yours.
I don't know. I think this ask them, because I think this is a regular stamp.
They have to weigh it, but I would hate to use a regular stamp and then everything gets returned to sender. So, and then Karis needs a special one because hers has to go international.
This doesn't feel any heavier than things I've used a single stamp for.
I don't know.
Ask.
I got a birthday card in the mail and it got returned to sender, but that was in Michigan, so I don't know.
Okay. How many do you have to send?
Today, about 30, but overall, I think we're sending out 70. We got 75. So.
Okay.
So you got to open it. Open it in real time. I worked really hard on that.
It's gonna.
I am a DIY budget bride.
It's. I mean, you're not going to tell me anything I don't already know, and I can't tell you it's nice or not.
Why? Let me see.
Looks nice.
You better. You better tell me it's. That's all. You don't have to go through.
How do I open this thing?
You should just be able to rip the wax.
Okay.
Or
it's sealed very Game of Thrones style.
Yeah, and then
okay.
just there you go. Just yeah.
I'm ripping it.
Yank,
okay,
rip it.
I can rip this, right?
Yeah.
Together with their families, you're cordially invited to the wedding of Thomas William and Alexandra Patricia, which I didn't know till last week. That was your middle name.
Yeah.
Saturday, the 1st of October, 2022, 4:30 in the afternoon, Glass City Metro Park, celebration to follow. Details. I've seen the dress attire. Yeah, you know what? I was gonna say something to you about this.
Is it spell check related?
No, you did ask me to check that. And look, I don't care because I am a complete, my ability to judge anything with a wedding is less than zero. Do you want me to give this back to you so I don't have to? I mean,
it doesn't have a stamp on it because you will give it back to me, but you don't have to do it right now if you're going to have a +1.
I was going to ask you.
So take your time to decide who your +1 is.
People who you're mailing to or whatever, do you give them the stamp?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Regretfully decline. No, happily declines. Gifts. And this is not the thing I wanted to ask you about.
What did you want to ask me?
In lieu of traditional wedding registry, the bride and groom have chosen to ask for monetary donations, which which will be used to purchase their very first home. A fund has been set up and can be found via the website. If I were being super critical, I had to like smack myself when I read this. I'm like, you don't know anything about weddings, whatever. I would have used a different word than donation.
I was trying to do it. What would you have used? Gift? Monetary gifts?
Yeah.
I suppose.
Or contributions.
Contribution is a good one.
Yeah, I saw donations. I'm like, it's not a Cherry Street mission.
That's true.
So,
that is true.
Too late.
Yeah.
Too late. I'll be there. It's in my calendar. So I bring this up because every Saturday morning when I go to the side job, I see people standing outside, and there's also some
At the
news.
post office.
Not the post office, but a place that some people might have similar disgust in going. Is the do we call it the BMV here?
I don't know. Between the DMV and the BMV, I don't know, but same thing.
I think it's BMV, and that one on Heather Downs. So people are always waiting outside when I get to work, like before 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. And I see now that you can renew your license online.
I believe that's coming. I don't know if it's here yet.
Not yet, but soon.
But you can renew your tags online.
Yes.
So I haven't gone to the BMV since I got my kayak because I can renew my tags online. So I just don't bother. I think I need a new driver's license next year. I
renewed mine this year because I got it like 17. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got mine in 17 and had to renew it. So every 5 years? I didn't read the details of what do you do for like a new photo or anything like that. I think mine, when I got the new license, was the all-encompassing one that you needed for certain kinds of travel, I think.
For air travel?
Yeah, I forget what they called it.
The TSA compliant.
Sure.
That's what it's called. And they were going to make it mandatory for everyone to have it, but I think this year, but then the pandemic just halted that. I don't have one because I have a passport. So all of my, when I was the last time I got a license, my passport, all of my information was out to get my passport. So I didn't have it to get the license. So now when I get my new license, I'll just bring my passport and I'll be able to get one.
So since I've lived here, I think I've been there 4 times.
Oh, it's the worst.
I have never had a lousy or long experience there ever.
Congratulations. You're God's favorite.
The last time I went was like my longest wait, and it was about 20 minutes. But nothing about it got me frustrated. And for the most part, I have been in and out of there because I have, before I lived here, and had to go, I heard the nightmares about it. But I'm like, wait a second. So Pennsylvania's pretty efficient. Michigan was the kind of thing where you had to take a whole day off.
Yeah, Secretary of State, right?
It's awful. Mm-hmm. It's awful. Maybe it's gotten better. So I was measuring things against that. But I've never had a long or painful experience at our driver's place here.
So it's also related to your county, because in Cuyahoga County, I have had really bad experiences, which is Cleveland, because they require e-checks. I don't know if they still require you to have an e-check, but like figuring out if you have to get an e-check first or not, like you can wait in line to renew your tags and get all the way up to the front of the line, and they say, no, this is your e-check year. So having to figure out if you needed an e-check or not was always a hot mess.
What's an e-check? Is that like an e-cigarette?
I think it's short for emissions. So what it is you drive your car to like, it's where I used to go. It was like you drove up on a hill and into a garage. It's almost like a car wash, and you get out of the car and somebody gets into your car. It's a one-day thing. It's almost like an oil change or a car wash. And what they'll do is they'll put your car on this track and they'll drive it really, 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 really fast on this like a car treadmill to make sure it's not giving off any dangerous emissions or something like that. So you're required to have an e-check like every other year. I don't know if that's changed or not. I've been in Lucas County for a long time, or Wood County for a long time. So
in Pennsylvania, and maybe this is why every other state is easier for me to go through with updating and registration. In Pennsylvania, you have to get an inspection every year. Mm-hmm. And maybe Cuyahoga County does this. They put the sticker on the front left of your windshield in Pennsylvania, and it's pretty sure it's every county. And it's not expensive or anything. Yep. It's more of a nuisance than anything, and probably a little bit
free for us.
Probably a little bit of a money grab. I don't know. I would just take it to where my brother worked, and in and out. So I was a little surprised when I first moved here and did all the.
And it was so easy.
Well, kind of.
Yeah.
People had told me, what I had to do, what I needed to have with me, and then I'm at the place on Glendale or Heatherdowns, and the woman's like, "Okay, we need to do the inspection now." I'm like, "Whoa!" I immediately thought of like Pennsylvania. You have to take it to a place, and they've got to inspect it front bumper to bumper, windshield wiper, everything, and it takes an hour or so.
I would agree with that.
And I wasn't ready for that, so we walk outside, and I'm kind of anxious. And she walks around my car and says, "You're good."
Like, literally. Okay.
What kind of inspection is that? I'm like,
you don't want to check my turn signals? Like, nope.
They might have done that, like the brake light check, but I was expecting something far more exhaustive for what I was used
I feel
to.
like I might have had that too.
Yeah, they walk around with a clipboard. I'm like, oh, this is kind of frightening.
I don't remember. I moved to Ohio. I moved to Toledo in October, so I would have had to renew my tags in March. I really don't remember. I don't remember.
Okay, so next up, if I may.
Yes.
I saw that Cock and Bull raised $5,000 for the displaced employees of Social.
That's wonderful.
It is. I posted something on Facebook today, and it didn't go anywhere, probably because I didn't have a snazzy picture to go up. I should have posted a picture of the dogs with the text, and it just got lost in the vortex. So what Cock and Bull did, and I'm continuing this from last week. That's nice, but hire these people. There is no other industry right now that seemingly has a harder time keeping employees than restaurant and hospitality. And I realize,
that's true.
And I'm not talking about, there's a million restaurants and maybe these people, they don't want to go work at Panera or something like that. But there are enough bar and restaurants, specifically I know some places from right across the street of Social at Levis reached out. Like if I was...
Tequila, busy all the time.
Where's Tequila at?
Across the street and a little farther down.
Are they on Dixie?
Towards Bowling Green. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're right on the corner where Pup's Paradise is.
I got to believe that almost, if not every restaurant that is in Levis Commons couldn't use an extra body or so. And they have various types of eateries, Bar Louie should have been on the phone right away with those people. They're walking across the street saying, "Hey, I work at Bar Louie. I'd like to hire you right now on the spot."
I don't know where the status or the progress of the new restaurants are that are coming in as well. There's like a brunch. Yeah, there's like a brunch spot with like bottomless mimosas that are coming in. So we know that's going to be popular. But I agree. I don't know. I've been to Social. I can't remember. It's not huge, but it's not small. Like it's not the size of Bar Louie, I don't think. So I can't remember how many employees that they potentially have. Maybe 20-ish. Maybe. I don't know. I saw the news story of, I always mispronounce his name, Bruce Gradkowski. Is there a Gronkowski?
Rob Gronkowski.
So I always confuse the two.
Yeah, and surprisingly enough, Bruce is not from here.
Is he not?
You wouldn't know otherwise. I think he's from Western Pennsylvania somewhere. I'll look it up real fast. But you would think, like me, he has adopted this as his home.
It was, he got choked up when he started talking about the staff because Social does well as a restaurant. They're supported. I would assume that as a business owner, and he sounds like a really responsible and accomplished business owner in his NFL retirement, that he is responsible. So insurance is going to play a part here. And I think he even said, we will rebuild. So we know that that's going to happen, but I think it's the employees, that you worry about the most. And clearly they mean a lot to him. So that was a nice news article to see. But I agree. I think that this is, of the difficulties, I think what's harder is those families that got displaced from the fire last night. Those 70 people or families.
The Miracle Manor?
Yeah, that's the tough one because housing is hard to come by right now. Whether it's affordable housing or it's just private housing, it's expensive and it's hard to come by. And now, 70 odd people are out of their homes and their personal items and their belongings, I think there is no better time than to get lose a job and get another job in the meantime.
I think you shifted my perspective on it, and you painted the context of all of this very well. The fires that displace people from their homes are far worse, especially with the loss of personal items and whatnot, then a building that can be replaced. And thankfully, everybody was okay. I mean, I've listened to the I think it was
Interview.
13
Yeah.
that had Bruce on, and I played it on the air on Friday. You could hear I was trying to figure out if he was choked up, and it sounded like a little bit.
Many times.
But if bad things are ever going to happen, that's the best kind of bad thing. Nobody's hurt. Insurance will cover it. Guy was pretty affluent. And in an industry where, again, those people could have, like, the places across the street, the restaurants could have walked over there while this was going on and said, hey, I know this is absolutely awful, but I'd like to have you on shift tonight at 6.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that the city of Perrysburg, I don't know if they have a chamber of commerce like Toledo does, but the city of Perrysburg is kind of like a community, especially all the business owners. I mean, if you think about Inside the Five, which is further into downtown Perrysburg, and there's Swig, and there's Cocina de Carlos, I believe, is going into downtown Perrysburg now.
Yeah.
So Stella's, right? Like, Fifth Street, there's so many. And if they're all like part of some sort of group that even has any kind of communication, I think it would be pretty easy for the displaced employees to find some temporary work while
permanent,
while social rebuilds. Can I say, I ran into Bruce Gradkowski once. He doesn't know me. He doesn't know me. I was at Dick's Sporting Goods. Have you ever seen, oh God, what's that movie? I think it's 300. What's the Titan movie or the Greek movie where the guy is painted in gold and Xerxes is, and Xerxes kind of gets up and he's this tall, like, godly. Bruce walked into Dick's Sporting Goods and my jaw could have hit the floor. I don't know what it is. I think it's just the general presence. And he's also just a really nice person. So
I have bald head jealousy.
He's got a nice bald head.
Yeah.
You have a lovely bald head, Eric.
I would take his.
Stop it. You have such a nice bald head.
To shift again, and I'll save the anger and do some stuff.
Reel me in.
For the end. Not even gonna reel you in because I wanted to take a different perspective or a different approach with this. So I have a slightly embarrassing thing, and I think similarly you can throw something out in that vein.
I'm sure.
But first, I want you have a pencil or something to write down over with? Something to write something down with? Okay. You want to write it on the envelope or whatever? No, don't use that.
Well,
can we use the envelope?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to spell a word out for you. It's one word. Thehater. So I think on my feet pretty quickly, maybe better than most. But I had a situation where I was vexed. Last Thursday. So I had ordered a pair of shoes for a friend. I won one of those lotteries. He wanted me to try it in case he didn't get it. He won it and I won it. And this was Monday. And I had seen on Thursday, I checked my bank account, his money arrived via PayPal, but Adidas didn't take the money out. Now, and I was a little concerned, and I called them, and I'm not getting a free pair of shoes. Everything is, clear. But they had asked me the email address and the name on the account. I was like, EricChase79@gmail. And then, sometimes there's confusion when I have to explain to them the email address is different than the legal name on the card or whatever like that. So it can be kind of confusing, but they get it. This was not my legal name. The name on the account was Vin, and however you pronounce that word. How would you pronounce that word?
So to me, it looks like the spelling of the way that bougie people say the word theater.
Okay.
Theater. So it's Thehater. Theater.
Okay, it wasn't that. So again, I couldn't think quickly on my feet to come up with a better way and to pronounce it like in some bougie snobby way. No, I just said quietly, Vin the Hater.
You had a Snickers in your mouth. Hater.
I had to create an account for Vinny.
Is this his last name?
No, his last name is something I can't remember.
So what is this?
All of his handles, or many of his handles on like Reddit and other things, are Vin the Hater.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
So I had to do the name for the account, which I will never buy from personally. I'm devoted to Nike.
Vinny.
I had to do Vin, and then the second name was Vin the Hater. So yeah, it was. I couldn't think on my feet when the woman was like, "I'm sorry," and the name on the account was Vin the Hater.
Vindy's nuts. So what he needed to do was make the H capital. That way you can tell that it's two different words.
I'm just trying to visualize. There was so
Vinny.
maybe your slightly embarrassing situation, and I thought you were totally fine for doing it, and this is what it's there for. Did you not feel a little off for making Kroger come deliver you groceries 100 yards away?
Yes, I did.
You shouldn't feel bad.
I still deal with my own personal feelings of not feeling like I'm lazy because I click list. I've never Kroger delivered for myself. I do Kroger delivery for the wellness center, never for myself. So it was Thursday. We had something we had to do Thursday evening. I am trying to focus on eating clean, and so it was important for me to cook my meal at home. So I had just enough time to get off of work, go home, cook my food, and then meet you downtown for our event. So I'm like, I have to get groceries and I have no other way to do this. So I just click listed to my job. She showed up outside the door and I just put the groceries right into the car. I get off at 4:30. She showed up at 4:35.
Did you think about how happy that person probably was she probably walked the groceries over, right?
I met her at the door. So I met her outside.
Yeah, I'm sure that was probably one of that person's more happy trips because all they had to go was literally out the driveway into the next.
And there was one other thing that made me really excited, unusually excited. So they didn't have cilantro. So they were out. I usually get a bundle of cilantro because I love it. And they did not have cilantro. But we were growing cilantro in the garden and it had gotten to the point where I could cut it. So I did. Cut myself some cilantro that I helped to grow and took it home.
And was it delicious?
It was delicious. I made an egg roll in a bowl. I think I told you that.
Yeah.
It was good.
No, I can't think of many situations where anybody should ever feel ashamed for having groceries like that delivered because that's what it's there for.
Yeah. I mean, it was so helpful for me. I'm probably going to do it again if I'm being honest.
Here, one criticism, but again, this is what it's there for. So Josh, he does delivery or what? I don't know.
Instacart?
Delivery or pickup, something like that. He, I guess, uses the Kroger by me in Holland on Airport. So are you familiar with that shopping center?
Yes.
Okay. If you go away from where I live, you're leaving that Kroger parking lot.
Yeah.
So you're going away from where
Towards
I live.
the airport.
Yes. His apartment complex is across whatever that road is. It intersects with the airport. I forget what it is. But he could literally walk out of his apartment, walk across the street, and be at Kroger.
Yeah.
I told him, you're kind of lazy for doing that. But I think he likes having people shop for him and whatnot. So, but yeah, that was far more egregious than what you did. You were in a rush and whatnot.
I needed to make it work. It was important that I made it work. I also got our dinners for the weekend because I knew I wasn't going to have any other time, any other way. And I am slowly but surely just kind of concluding that it's okay for me to be so tired at the end of the day that I really don't have much time other than for myself.
Yeah.
If that.
You are a high-powered young professional woman trying to make the buck. So, do you have to tip those people?
In the app I do, yeah.
How much do you tip them?
They give you the predictive amount. So they'll say the lowest amount you could tip them is this. I always tip them in the middle, so mid-range.
Okay. Is it 20%?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you able to? It stuns me how few people can move a decimal point and multiply something by 2 to do 20% on a bill.
So I just give them, I don't calculate 20%. I just give them whatever I feel. So sometimes if my bill is low, I might tip them more. Okay. And I give them a solid number. So if my bill is $20, I'm going to give them $10. If it's $20.42, I'll give them $10. So then I'll pay them $30.42. I just add the change.
What if your bill is $57?
I'm probably tipping them closer to 20.
That's good.
16.
Can you do move the decimal point and multiply by 2?
No.
Really?
Probably. I don't know.
All right, so I'm going to pull a number out.
No, Jesus, no. We're not doing this.
Hold on, just real fast.
Oh, my trauma's coming back.
What's 20% on $84?
20?
No. So move
30?
So move the.
Stop! I'm not doing it.
It's the one math thing. It's the one math thing I'm good at.
I'm not doing it.
Fine. Move the decimal point to the left, multiplied by 2. All right, next up.
You can teach my children one day. This ship has sailed.
Of you having children or me teaching you math?
Of you teaching me math.
Okay. All right. Let's vent a little bit here. And I don't know if you've seen the latest, and I don't want to go forever on this. We'll try to limit ourselves. Did you see the latest thing where the Supreme Court had another decision allowing a coach in Washington State to pray after football games?
No.
Yeah, that was unsurprising.
Public school?
I think so, yeah.
Probably.
And more widely, I believe, and this is still new, I haven't read too deeply on it. It now allows like his teachers to pray in certain circumstances, and there was some intersection of church and state and school. And we've talked about this before, how when we were kids we had to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I look back and go, the under God stuff really kind of doesn't sit well with me now.
It was very militant.
A little bit nationalistic.
There you go.
Brainwashy.
There you go.
You know what? Hold on. Before we do this, making me think of my childhood. I'm sorry. I'll keep this brief. I have been enjoying the show. Do you have Apple?
No.
Okay.
I saw that. You shared it. What was it called?
This show called For All Mankind. Mm-hmm. It's very good. And it got a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, on a site that I find some good content on, says we're all overlooking Apple, just how good Apple Plus's For All Mankind is, or something along the lines of like, it's a really great show and we're all, just blowing past it. Really good show.
Huh.
It's a slightly alternate version of history where instead of, I think we beat the Russians to the moon, it's the opposite. The Russians beat us. And I was wondering which direction it was going to go. And there's a lot of, interpersonal drama.
Interesting.
Nixon wanted to get all these women there. And I'm at the point where now, like, the black woman goes, look, it was cool to be the token black lady, but now I want to command something. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was going to lose interest, but it's very compelling. And I like Joel Kinnaman a lot. And I think you do too.
Yes.
Do you know who he is?
Yes. Don't tell me. I know who he is.
JoleKinnanaman. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head that you would have seen is Suicide Squad. And he was in this kick-ass Netflix sci-fi show like 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah. He was a bad guy. He's been a bad guy in a couple movies that I like.
Often, yeah. I really like watching. No, there are very few actors who curse who I enjoy watching so much as him. When he drops a curse word, it just makes me feel good. Anyway, it's a good show, and they jumped 10 years in the second season of the show, which surprised me. And it's all so far 1983, which I'm too young to remember many things. And watching the aesthetic, what was the TV show we both watched, the alternate history where Charles Lindbergh was like the president on HBO, and it's like,
yes. Oh, with the Jewish family?
Yeah, we're never going to remember the name.
No.
So it was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And you got me into it. And I appreciated it because it was kind of sci-fi, but also because it gave me a snapshot of my grandparents when they were young adults. I've appreciated this because it lets me, I guess, see my mom and dad a little bit when they were young adults, when they were in their early 30s, and how much everybody smoked and how short sleeve dress shirts and a tie were a thing and so many other things. So it takes me back to a time I was just too young to remember, but it's been fascinating to watch.
Cool. We might have Apple TV because some account Thomas has, but we've never really watched it.
Okay. All right.
Oop.
What does that mean?
I'm on a every 2 hour eating schedule.
I
actually have 30 minutes. It's wrong.
I have some celery and carrots if you want.
No, I didn't have lunch until 1.
All right. So to Friday's decision, I don't want to parse it too much because we went through it when we were like, who leaked this? And I don't want to like.
And what's going to happen to them now that clearly they were right? I mean, they were leaking information that we didn't know. One of the messages was, we're not sure if that's actually what's going to happen. Right. It could be the dissenting opinion.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
And I think I said it when we talked about this, whenever that was this is going to be like a Watergate level documentary or something.
Absolutely.
Something we're going to care about.
Agreed.
But to this, and again, I didn't want to theorize too much, so I just wanted to go down the line, and I made it like a top 3, which wound up being like a top 4.5 of things I have not yet heard that people have been upset about with all of this. So I'll go through that quickly. This is not something that we didn't talk about before or that many people don't know. I think we're just irresponsibly overlooking it. Mm-hmm. Most people didn't want this. There are a bazillion polls, and some of them are just complete trash and not worth anybody's time. But before any of this, if you ever asked any average American, they didn't care. Mm-hmm. And even the people who, I guess, were pro-life or wherever there was a centrist area, they were like, yeah, I'm for abortions, but in the first trimester and nothing beyond that. Like, most people were on the same page. It was drama and conflict that we really didn't need. Mm-hmm. Unless you're a straight white man or of some affluence, like the Constitution wasn't written for you. And we're unfortunately bringing back some of those values.
Which is scary.
Yeah, it is. Especially with the religious stuff earlier today, which again was a large basis for how this country was created and born out of.
How can you be a constitutionalist when the Constitution wasn't written to support the majority of the population?
Yep.
How can you still consider yourself that?
I had reminded myself. I always forget about this because we all get caught up emotionally in these discussions. And I always, my premise is it's a 200-some-year-old document and there was no internet back then. My point is things have drastically changed. There were some really big holes and problems with that founding document. The third, we always look we overlook the Third Amendment. The first two are important. I get it. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, which means the government cannot encroach on religion. And then obviously the Second Amendment, which is always... Do you know the third one?
No.
I forget it too. But it is arguably the foundation of my point that this document, we might want to start over.
Right.
It says you don't have to house or quarter soldiers.
Oh, yeah. So, not necessary.
Completely irrelevant. It would
that's
be
a good point.
It would be like someone connecting their internet with an Ethernet cord or to a dial-up modem. Mm-hmm. It's irrelevant. It's unnecessary. Mm-hmm. It means nothing. And it shows you how out of touch
we've moved on.
That document is. Yes, please stop dialing up things on your internet. Do not use your phone to dial up to the internet anymore. What was the other? I did come across a neat phrase today.
What is it?
Pro-life needs to transition to whole life because this is so much of the fear. It's like, great, you have to take it to term. You've got to bring this life out into the world, and then you're on your own. It would have been nice to see if when we made this decision to just throw all the healthcare and abilities to make sure this child succeeds at life as possible. But no, it's pro-life. You won, you walked away. So pro-life to whole life.
I saw one politician, and for the life of me, the name is escaping me, and this is a conservative politician that was for Roe v. Wade being overturned, making a point to say, now that we've done this, we need to pass legislation that would support the lives of the children. So,
yep.
But that's not, he's also up for re-election. So I'm having a hard time because how can we support a political system that made a decision that only 9% of the population support? That's the number. So that was the last poll that I saw that was shared on NBC News. 9% of the population supported Roe v. Wade being overturned. 9%. how have we made such a huge decision about something that such a small percent of our population supports?
Yeah.
It doesn't, and I can't even imagine how many of that 9% is actually politicians. Like those people saying, yes, I support this, are politicians, because we know they participate in polls.
I tried to come up with an analogy that would match that. Something that so few people cared about, but a decision was actually made. And I don't want to be too clumsy with it. The Supreme Court did not read the room. And that, of all the things that we get up in arms about and get very upset over, and we'd like to see things be better, this is the one where I'm like, the dystopian stuff and The Handmaid's Tale and any other reference you want to make is closest. Because, look, if most people, whenever the gun stuff comes up, there's far more than 9% of people who want their guns. And that's totally fine. Like, that makes sense. Like, I can understand why we get at each other's throats. 9%. It would be like, and again, here's the clumsy analogy. And again, real clumsy. I'll have to polish it up by the end. It would be like McDonald's took hamburgers off the menu.
but a lot of people get, like, the majority of their business is hamburgers.
Right.
Fish fillets are what they focus on now. It's just... It's hard to gather your words. Like, even when we've had days, and I will say, like, they always say that there's things that you will always remember where you were at and what you were doing. I had no idea this was coming. I almost forgot. Like, the U.S. has gone through we have been such a dumpster fire that I literally forgot that was leaked in May and that we could expect a decision in July. Completely forgot, where sometimes I remember and I wait, like, with bated breath. So I was just coming into work late, getting myself ready, and I could see the posture and the tone change with the people that were reporting the news at that moment, because they had breaking news. And I was just shocked. And I get, like, frustrated. I think we're right now, like, we're going through a phase where now it's up to the states, and each state is going to have a different ruling. Some have really strict ones, and some don't have strict ones, but they still have a ban. You know, it's still illegal. So there's information that's going out, and it's like, well, if my life is threatened, then I'm just going to die. That's in Texas. That's not in, Ohio. Those kinds of things. But I still, like, it's confusing, and I think that, like, people, it's so irresponsible, and it's so frustrating, and it's like, so now, like, people are, I don't even have words. I remember having a discussion with somebody where they were like, well, so-and-so has mentioned that sometimes, these things are being done because people are just being irresponsible, and just because you're irresponsible doesn't mean that you get to take away the life of a baby. And it's like, first of all, it's not a baby. Second of all, that's also a misconception that the majority of abortions are being done by people who are being irresponsible.
Yeah.
That, like, you have to understand, like, we have to, like, use our thoughts here. Like, and if you don't understand, be willing to listen at the very least. Like, don't be so close-minded. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's scary. And I think the other part that scares me a little bit more, and I know that this has been talked about, so I know people listening, like, we're not telling you anything you don't already know, is that the overturning of Roe v. Wade is also bringing forward the discussion of overturning other cases that are extremely important. So now the next case, the recommendation was made by Judge Clarence Thomas, by the way, and I will reserve my opinions about the kind of person that he is. The recommendation was, now we need to review a woman's right to contraception. Right? There's a ruling that women have rights to contraception. So I can, whether my insurance covers it or not, I can go get birth control for $9. The other ruling that should be reviewed is same-sex marriages, right? So he brought forward these cases that weren't protected in the Constitution. These things are not protected in the Constitution, therefore they should also be considered and be overturned. But he specifically omitted the ruling that allows him to be married to his wife. He's married to a white woman. He's a black male. He specifically omitted that. Specifically. That's not protected in the Constitution.
There's a lot of hypocrisy in all of this. And not to get too much into the weeds, I have two more things in my list. But one of the things I was thinking of this morning is, like, driven by deeply religious people, whose opinions I question, but like Clarence Thomas, like, to that point of, like, you'd have to break up with your wife. So there could be a case of incest where a woman is impregnated. So
Some states.
We can't terminate that life, but in some way, that child or if there was some type of illegal abortion criminalized, we might wind up criminalizing that act more than the incest itself. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of hypocrisy.
Plan B as well. The Plan B pill.
Yeah, you're treating it like it's a machete.
My God.
How they keep going back to abortion was not protected in the Constitution. Mm-hmm. And again, there's so much hypocrisy. I thought I had a pretty good tweet the other day. The same document that we're being reminded doesn't say anything about protected abortion rights in the Constitution. That same document also says return your runaway slaves.
Literally, women weren't even included in the Constitution.
Right.
We weren't even mentioned. Black people, we were considered less than human beings.
Property.
Like property. How are we even? It's only, and I hate saying this. I hate it, but literally only in the U.S. are we just babbling baboons about this kind of stuff. Like, it's insane. It doesn't make any sense. I never thought I would see it, but here I am. You know, again, what else let's add to the list of never thought I was going to see. Never thought this was going to happen. Never thought people were going to storm the Capitol. And here we go. It's just, what's next, you know? And Thomas.
Don't say that.
I know. Thomas, he feels just as strongly about it as I do. And he's like, why now? Why now? And I'm like, hun, I understand. We've only been dating for 5-6 years. And so, you know, I don't know how much you paid attention to politics before that, but they have wanted to overturn this for a long time. They just never had the capacity until now. That's why it's so important that we at the very least pay attention. I'm not going to be empty and say, go vote, go vote. Just pay attention.
I have the last thing on my list is to what you just said. One other thing, and I think I said this when we had this discussion early on as to why these motives were there and whatnot. Mm-hmm. It may move some women to the left, mm-hmm. Because this is different than like somebody who might be a major gun rights person and fall on that side of the spectrum, though not real extreme. At this point, they may throw up their hands because it's not a weapon or anything else that we often talk about politically. Someone is messing with their body. So it may move a lot of women to the center, to the left of where they are on whatever spectrum. And then the last thing. Sorry, what did you say about Thomas one more time? I'm sorry.
He just, as we talk about it, I think the biggest takeaway that he has, the biggest question is why now? And I've explained. He's like, why now? Why are they doing this now? And I said, the Conservative Party, and I say conservative because judges don't identify as Republican, correct? They're conservative or liberal judges. So the Conservative Party has always attempted to address abortion in Roe v. Wade. Yep. Always, for as long as I can remember.
You hit the note. You reminded me. Sorry. But the other thing, which I think I said when this came out, like I feel bad for John Roberts, who is just trying to be a decent down the middle man and is caught on his conservative side with the lunacy that is Clarence Thomas. Mm. And the one thing I thought of, as you illustrated, was they've wanted to change this from the outset. And I even can understand the constitutionality of Roe v. Wade, but I'm not a lawyer, nor do I want to dive into that. This is not the scariest thing of all, because the scary thing is the 9%, and this is not how a democracy or representative democracy or a democratic republic works. The more people in favor of something usually get their way, even if it's something that we dislike.
Except now.
The numbers are here. The math doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. But now, the last president and Mitch McConnell have a forever legacy in the Supreme Court. And he will take his victory lap for the rest of his life. And in a lot of ways, I blame Trump. I don't blame Trump. I mean, he made several Supreme Court appointees. Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett.
Gorsuch.
Wow,
Neil Gorsuch was the first one. Then it was Kavanaugh. Then it was Amy Coney Barrett.
But the McConnell legacy is, I think, in the summer of 2016, when it comes to, I think it was Merrick Garland, who I think is now the Attorney General. Obama appointed him, and Mitch McConnell said, "We're not doing this in an election year." And the fear of that has played out, and it's awful. Like, I wish more people, and this is why I came up with a list of things I don't think people are talking about that they should be. Of all the reasons to hate Mitch McConnell for some of his really questionable decisions, this might last the longest of any of them.
But I think what's so frustrating, and it frustrates me, is we are living in such a time where there's literally like lunacy. Like, there are things that are happening, and like, if you are somebody that doesn't pay attention, you just live your life, and you know what I mean? Like, you don't care either way, and you don't pay attention, you truly don't believe these things are actually happening. I mean, I think Thomas is a really good example, and there's no judgment on him. He's a hard worker, and he just lives his life every day. And I'm more of the one that kind of pays attention, and he counts on me for information. And I'm like explaining to him what just happened, and he's like, "Are you serious?" I'm very serious. These things are happening, and nobody's talking about them. Exactly what Mitch McConnell did with Merrick Garland, and then turned around and contradicted himself when it was his turn.
Yeah.
Nobody is talking about that stuff.
And there was some discussion about this. The quotes were out there then and now. I think there are quotes from Amy Coney Barrett and Kavanaugh during their confirmation. They're like, who basically, to bring this discussion full circle, they echoed the sentiments of what people in America want. We're like, Roe v. Wade is fine.
It's protected.
Boy, you got to... Or no, they just saw no reason to. Because it had been,
I saw that.
The overturn attempts were numerous in the past and always shot down. So,
but I think we're in such a place, and I know we're trying to wrap up, where the party that you would try, not even the party, the individuals that you would try to use to explain, that you would explain this to, that may need some eye to open their eyes, wouldn't believe you anyway, because they've been so manipulated that they almost everything is a manipulation. You've been manipulated to such a degree that when it's right in front of you, when the truth is right in front of you, when the facts are right in front of you, you don't believe them. Like, you don't believe them because they don't fit your narrative. And that's what's so scary, because you're either, the conservative party completely manipulating their base so that they can pass what they want to pass. They're murdering babies. They're just going out having kids and not caring. Not true at all. And then you have the Democratic Party that refuses to budge on literally everything and like take away all the guns. That's not realistic. So what about the people in between that just need the accurate information?
I always thought with the sheer size of this country, there would never be extremes. Because there was just
Yet
too...
here we are.
Like, I go back to the sentiment, which it's like the only Facebook post I think I ever took down, just because I don't want to deal with any of the work blowback.
Yeah.
But I remember sitting here on January 6th of last year, and what I said wasn't even incendiary. I just put up, we look like a country from a Borat movie right now. And it hasn't gotten a whole heck of a lot better. There's a quote that I have to dig up in my notes app. It said something like, inequality is a part of any democracy or republic.
Correct.
It's good and bad. And I'm really paraphrasing here, but I want to get this right. Too much inequality is an ingredient for civil war. And I saved that years or so ago, and we have slowly gotten to that point. And I always have to remind myself that the last president was not a problem. He was just someone who took advantage of all the symptoms. And I thought we would slowly move closer back to the middle after his departure, when we moved away from 1 a.m. tweets that we all woke up to. And in a lot of ways, we've gotten farther apart. It's okay to be white.
Literally came across my Facebook feed, and it wasn't even a joke. I was like, oh my God, is this a joke? Comments, they're like, 100%, I agree, thank you, somebody finally said it. What? There was compared to the lady where it says, let's protect white life, like at a rally.
That was one of the quotes that I grabbed this morning. Hold on, I'll give you the exact
what is going on.
And they tried to blow it off as, she said, right to life.
Is it because she knows that the majority of people having abortion are white women? White families, excuse me.
U.S. Representative Mary Miller's white life comment, latest in Stream. And I took that and did a quote tweet. Well, yeah, who do you think the Constitution was written by and for?
But she said, and I'm surprised you didn't catch on to this, and you might have, but she said she misspoke, right? She goes, we need to protect the right to life, but she said we need to protect white life. But I would believe that if you hadn't quoted Hitler earlier in your in your speech. You literally quoted Hitler.
I don't believe she misspoke, and I don't believe she herself corrected that. Her representative said, "Oh no, she meant right to life." That's a horrible misstep.
You quoted Hitler in your speech. My God, sorry, I got a little sassy at the end there.
My dad was here a month or so ago, and remember, you seemed to enjoy when I asked him, "Is it worse now than ever before?" And there was a lot going on, but Friday was a massive step in a direction that most people didn't want to go in.
Yeah.
And in a very scary way, you wonder how much farther those steps will go, because it seems like, so I think, is Clarence Thomas, is he the most senior? He's the most senior on the court, right? I think so.
I believe so, yeah.
Of at least those in the majority.
Yeah.
Samuel Alito hasn't said anything. He wrote the opinion. Clarence Thomas kind of used him as a dog and said, "Go write the opinion." And it's kind of frightening. It's kind of like everybody else's words. Like, none of the other majority justices that I have seen have said anything, where the Clarence Thomas things about reviewing Obergefell and the other ones with what you've already referenced are a little frightening. It's like It seems like something out of a movie, and of a senior black man who was accused and on trial, essentially, for raping someone, sexually assaulting them, is some kind of...
Whose wife is investigated under the January 6th hearings also.
A plot Hollywood, a plot that would not come in an alternative history of things. It's just wild.
So I don't know what's happening tomorrow, but I do know there was an announcement that the January 6th committee is having a televised hearing, a special event televised hearing tomorrow. So they didn't have one scheduled for tomorrow, but now they do based on evidence. And I don't know how much of what just happened is fueling them, because we know politicians, no matter what side of the aisle that you're on, move in like petty ways, if I'm being honest. And I know that his wife, Jenny, is under investigation with the January 6th committee because of her actions. And I don't know how much of what they're going to do tomorrow has anything to do with Jenny. But I would predict there might be something. And I think they might have been motivated by what just happened.
I'll be at your wedding.
Are we ready to party? So I'm almost 90. I'll be 90 days away on Friday. 90 days. I'm getting married. I'm more excited that Thomas and I will be husband and wife, but I think I'm also just a little bit nervous. So I'm looking at contracts. The bar contract is due day of, the caterer contract is due in September. So now I'm looking at due dates.
Yeah. 3 months out.
Almost done with decorations.
Summer. It's been warm for a couple of weeks. We actually just hit summer last week, but
it's
summer's going to be over real fast.
Literally, October 1st is in 90 days.
Can I wear sneakers?
If you want to, so long as you wear it with a nice jacket and a nice pair of pants.
What if it's really hot? Can I wear shorts?
With a dress jacket.
Sure. I don't have a jacket.
I thought you did. You wore it to Lucas and Justin's wedding with that tee underneath.
Oh God, that was 3 years ago now. It may or may not still fit.
Oh, stop. We can go shopping.
Maybe. We'll see. I'm not going to buy anything until 2 weeks out. I want to see how the weather is trending.
Wish me luck. I feel like it should be sunny. And 4:30. I was worried about the time 4:30, but I feel like Mom said the superstition says your wedding needs to be on the downswing, and I wanted there to be enough time for me to take 30 minutes of photos and then join you guys for cocktail hour. So
your mom is going to look at the Farmer's Almanac, isn't she?
No.
Okay.
No. My poor mother, bless her heart.
Okay. All right, we're done.
Okay.